Ladies and gentlemen, welcome down to another episode of the 3J's Sports Podcast, Ashes edition. A full cricket flavour for your palate.
Yum.
How's it going, Johnny? Jack?
Very good.
Turnsky?
Awesome.
Self-dubbed?
Self-dubbed Big Turnsky.
Turnsky. Is that because you turn the ball a lot in cricket or just...
We can go with that if you like.
No, we'll
but
go
my
with
last name's Turner.
That makes sense.
Born to be a spinner. Lovely bit of obscure humour there.
I forgot what your last name was.
But we care very deeply about each other.
Yeah.
It's obvious to
I'm
anyone.
feeling it.
Yeah, feel the love. Where's the Barry White when we need it? So we've got a second awesome episode for you this evening or in the morning, depending on when you're listening to this. It's not live, unfortunately, but one day we can dream. Obviously, going to review all the action from the Gabba, from the first test match. We'll get a little bit of that Shield cricket revision from Turnsky.
Interesting games on the weekend in the Shield. I was having a look at the Shield as well.
Glenn Maxwell.
Keeping
Yes.
an eye.
And Jackson Bird.
Well, and obviously we'll preview the historic first day-night test in an Ashes.
If it actually happens, with all this
Predicting
rain,
weather, John.
with all this rain happening around,
Well,
it's happening in.
I hope not.
Apparently, it's going to clear up by Saturday in Adelaide. They're saying.
Perfect for a start.
Hopefully.
The sun comes out. It's humid. It's a jungle out there. The bowlers are sending down anaconda deliveries, swallowing the batsman whole. It's all getting a bit much.
Yep.
It's pretty hot in here, actually. So I suppose straight off the bat, let's get into the Gabba. Personally, for me, what a great start to the Test series.
Fantastic.
What a great advertisement for Test cricket.
Yeah, without the massive run rates, it was still just as intriguing as
was-
5 and over.
I still watched basically every single ball of it, except for
Yeah.
day one, and enjoyed every minute of it.
Yeah.
The benefits of being unemployed, I guess.
And having a wife that lets you watch it while she's at home as well.
Shout out to wifey.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I thought, so as we just said, a great advertisement for the format. One thing I thought was really good about it was that it showed the variety of play that you can get over 5 days of cricket. You know, unlike T20 where you've only got 3 hours of contest. 1 day cricket, you know, maybe you get a little bit more, but it's still not as multi-dimensional, in my opinion,
No.
Do you
as
think
tests.
do you think it takes a little bit of the skill out of it too in T20s? Like you might think it's skillful, you're hitting more boundaries,
Yeah.
but you're also just slogging a lot of balls.
Yeah. A lot
Absolutely.
of times you're just there and swinging as hard as you can. I'm assuming that's what the top grade players are doing, just swinging for all they can.
That's
The ones
I
who can.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's where you're making your money.
Yeah.
That's what fans want to come in and see when they watch T20 cricket. But I just thought, you know, the tactics obviously opening up for England, trying to grind down the bowling attack.
Which I
Both
thought was the right way to start too.
definitely the right way. I think it was the right tactic, and you just saw it sort of explode to a certain
Yeah.
extent. The run rates did increase in the second innings. Obviously, the wickets also tumbled
Yeah.
as well. But I just thought there was a little bit in it for the spinners, there's a
Yep.
bit in it for the seamers, all different types of batsmen. I suppose one thing it did expose is that you had to be patient.
Yeah.
on
Very
that day.
patient.
You know, it was one of those ones where it wasn't dominated by perhaps the guys who are bigger names in the T20 cricket and the limited overs cricket.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
definitely did.
just to touch on that first innings and England's tactic, I thought one of the biggest mistakes they made in that first innings was I really wanted to see them go after line. With Australia just having 3 quicks,
Yeah, they
as
did.
soon as line came in, they needed to force a change
They
to
did.
wear out the quicks. But
And they weren't able to, and he just got on top. And you could see it. I could see it every ball. There'll be a close call of a wicket, and then every other ball they'll do to him would just be a block. They'll just block it out. And that just gives Lyon that extra confidence. And puts that so much more pressure on the batsman.
And it meant rotating the three
Yeah.
quicks from one end as opposed to forcing him out and having two quicks bowled.
Well, he just bowled so many consecutive overs, and when you've got that, like you say, it just lets so much rest time for those guys.
And that's where they missed a trick, I reckon.
They did.
Well,
It was one of those ones it was spinning it as well, but yeah, they either weren't able to or weren't in the mindset to. And it also comes in, it was those two younger or debutant guys who came in after losing Cook early.
And I feel like they went too far with their tactic. Like they clearly went in with the mindset of bat time, wear out their bowlers, don't care about the runs so much, but then they needed that ability to go,
attack
right, Lions in, let's step it up again.
And they didn't have that experienced batter who could
couldn't
step
change
it
the
up.
gears.
Yeah.
And I mean, Lyon bowled, I thought, I watched a fair few of his spells. He bowled incredibly well. He was spinning the ball a lot. Yeah. And it gets that bounce, which it just fizzes out of, off the deck. Obviously, Moeen Ali wasn't getting that sort of turn, and he did have that finger injury, which, makes a big difference in terms of trying to spin it.
I'm pretty sure it was one of his
spinning
finger, so that limits what he can do majorly.
So, just to go back, I suppose, to that batting performance of England, one thing I thought that really defined the whole match was the difference in terms of killer instinct. When the cracks appeared for England, Australia were just in, like a pack of wolves, like great white sharks sort of thing, just straight in. They smell blood. And I sort of highlighted a few areas. I said England had opportunities at 4 for 246 in the first innings. When Milan falls, they're suddenly all out 56 runs later. So it was 6 for 56. They have Australia 4 for 76 in the first innings. And then suddenly they've got them... Well, they had them again later at 7 for 209, and then Smith added 66 with Cummins. He added 23 with Hazelwood, and he added 30 with Lyon. So 119 runs for the last 3 wickets. Bairstow played a horrible shot off Cummins.
Oh, I remember that shot. I was thinking, why? How could you not see that fielder down there when you're playing that?
Well, it came out of nowhere. That's what I didn't understand. He was batting really well. He'd just sort of started because Moeen Ali had gone out, or Wokes. I think he was batting with Wokes. And I thought at that moment, that is a shocker of a shot. And it seemed to come out of nowhere. Obviously, Smith and Co are claiming that they sledged him and that worked, but it's just one of those things where would another 20 or 30 runs with the tail there, obviously Australia chased it really easily in the end, but you just don't know how the situation plays out if you're chasing a bit over 200. Maybe England come out with the tails up.
220 was the highest run chase
236
in the last...
I'm pretty sure.
I
think it was
like
220 or 236. Anything over 200 is a difficult thing to chase.
I suppose that was one thing that really stuck out for me. That and then you had Warner come in, and he's maybe the player out of the whole team that smells blood
with the bat. With the bat.
Like when they walked out, I think I texted you guys and just said, "Geez, I hope this isn't a 10-wicket dawdle," and it was. And they just stamped it out so quickly, put the foot on the throat,
and you could tell with England as soon as they got past that new ball, all the bite and malice out of the bowling was just gone. It was just like throwing it up there. Yeah. Just going, when's this going to be done?
Well, I think, and one thing that's, really sort of going to set an interesting tone for Australia is that I thought Bancroft looked pretty good.
Yeah.
I felt like he has potentially more scoring options than Renshaw.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe they're going to be able to bog him down less at the top of the order with Warner than, like Renshaw was really good at playing that defensive sort of supportive role.
But a little bit too far.
Yeah.
The line. Whereas Bancroft, I thought, had almost the perfect strike rate to partner Warner. Warner was going at around 80 and he was going at about 40. Like, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Let Warner cut loose, and he was rotating the strike really well. And I really loved how quickly he learned from his mistakes in the first innings.
Yeah.
He went out playing with too hard hands in the first innings, and then really early on, he blocked a ball where the ball's moving through quicker and it didn't carry to slips because he softened his hands. And you could even see too, every time he'd try to play on the onside and he wanted to work it in the offside, he would go through the shot.
Yep.
Every single shot, and you would see it in action, and that was really impressive for me.
And he's a tough player.
It is pretty hard.
Fielding it bat pad and
got
loving
smacked in the helmet and then into shoulder. Hit the grill of his helmet and right into his shoulder. And then in the second innings, Anderson's bowled a ball and he's blocked it back to him. Anderson's picked it up and tossed it at him, back at him, hit him nearly in a private area. Yeah. He just stood there. Yeah. Just stood there and let it hit him. And
does that say...
stared at him, just gone.
is that a question of his hardness or his hardness?
Yeah,
his hardness.
Yeah, that's right, definitely hardness. And, we're a G-rated program, so we won't define which hardness, you know. I mean,
It was close to that delicate area.
Where no one wants to be hit. No. Really.
And he did. He just brushed it off like it was nothing and stared him down. And
well, I mean, I think, was it Michael Vaughan or Kevin Peterson who said on TV, just another tough Australian.
Tough or stupid, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things I liked about Bancroft too, he doesn't seem to get very flustered.
No, he's got a good head on his shoulders. I really still...
Clearly, because
I've found myself just thinking, why didn't they throw him the gloves still? Yeah. And I did think Payne did a reasonable job. But then on the flip side, we theoretically had 3 keepers, and you notice their fielding skills, like Hanscom and Bancroft under the lid. It kind of is pretty exceptional. And I was watching cricket a few months ago. It was a Windies game, and they were talking about how keepers are the best fieldsmen, and I think it might have been Pakistan, and their keeper, Sarfraz is their keeper, isn't he, in the tests? And he wasn't keeping in the one-dayers, and he is just a jet in the field, and they were talking about that, and it came to me when I was watching that, and I thought, well, maybe it's not such a bad thing having the 3 in there, when they, Hanscom and Bancroft can play as specialist batsmen, because they were very, very good in the field. I thought both teams fielded pretty well, though.
Yes, England were, in the first innings, when Australia was batting, were spot on. They weren't letting anything through. It was so hard for Australia to score.
I actually did think that they pressured really well, and it's something that I think touring teams often don't come up to scratch with when they come over to Australia, is that fielding pressure. If you can save extra runs per innings, if you're saving 20, 30, 40 runs in the field, it's runs you're not having to chase.
And how much more confidence does it give everyone if you stop that one that will be going for 4? Exactly. You get a single, and that brings up the energy in the field again, and gets the players pumped up to get another wicket. That's all it takes, really.
Well, I think so. Obviously there's that killer instinct difference. One thing I suppose that is worth mentioning is that those lesser known guys for England actually did manage to stand up and get starts with the bat. I feel like they got starts. They didn't maybe finish it as well as they would have liked. They all scored 50s, I think, didn't they?
Yeah, Vince was unlucky with the run out. It was a brilliant piece of fielding.
Was that Lyon?
Yeah. I think you forget that Lyon isn't actually 75 years old when you're and I think that might have just been underestimated, the fielder, and he is pretty handy. But I really liked how proactive Root was with his fields. I thought that was a real standout for me. Like, he had a clear plan for almost every one of the Australian batsmen, whereas we didn't so much. I felt like we had our plan for Cook. You go hard and full at him early and get him to nick one off. And they didn't really have anything for Stoneman or Vince or Milan. They just had their plans for the big guys, and I felt like they just thought that their talent and skill would get through the younger guys,
Just that pace
whereas
barrage.
they had plans for everyone.
Yeah.
The really specific field settings.
Yeah, but I found that really exciting, and
Yeah. It
was.
I was, even though it slowed play down a little bit, I really liked it, and I was kind of hoping for a bit more English success there too, because they were so proactive and they'd clearly done their homework. But then again, hat off to Australia for being, Smith in particular, being so patient. I'm just saying, well,
if he wasn't there,
starve me.
Australia would have. If Smith didn't do what he did, we would have been looking at 100 lead easily.
For England.
England would have had a 100 lead easily if
Yeah.
Smith didn't bat the way he batted.
Well, I mean, how much patience? And I think that's why there's... I mean, I've got a note here that says, is Smith the only one who can stop Smith at the moment? I.e., is it just whether he's mentally on or not?
Which
on
he's very consistent, isn't he?
He's averaging over 70 with the bat in Test cricket.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
That's... What is that? Second only
To Don Bradman.
to Don Bradman in the history of the game.
Yep.
I could be wrong on that. If there's some statistician out there,
I'm pretty
cricket
sure
boffins with
on
your books,
the
I'm sure you'll get all over me.
on the cricket they had a stat on that, and I'm pretty sure he was only behind Don Bradman.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think there was any other Australian that had a better average than Smith at this moment.
you always think, like looking at him sometimes, that he's really awkward at the crease. He's all that fidgeting and that sort of thing. He's really sort of uncouth, but he seems to be one of those guys who knows his own game really well.
And backs his hands and his eyes.
And what an innings! Like to be able to go through those long patches where I think he added 17 runs in the morning session of whenever they batted, second or third day, and then...
Well, how long was he in the 90s for? Like 56 minutes or something? It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. But that, credit to him. Like, how many people wobble through the 90s?
Oh, absolutely. Like, you just think, in the 90s, just hit a boundary or...
Yeah, two shots.
Yeah, 2 shots. But he was adamant, just staying there and leading from the front, as he wants to do as a captain.
I think I text Johnny, or actually I think I text both of you saying, I can't remember at what point in the game it was, but I said I think Smith will carry his bat.
Yeah.
You could just see that determination, and we've seen it in a few series, I think, where you just see him make that decision within himself of, I'm not going to let you get me out.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the benefits for Australia of having guys down the order who can bat, who can either stick with him or actually score.
Yeah.
Cummins looked good.
Yeah,
with
he
the
Very
bat.
good.
Yeah, I
And I'm
thought...
prepared to eat my words on his bowling too.
Yeah, I thought he was a pick
Yes.
of the quicks.
Yeah.
But he was exceptional with the bat. He did what I expected Stark to do, personally.
Yeah.
And I was preaching for Stark to bat higher and play that
Stark
bowling
normally
all-rounder role. But
does do that all-rounder thing as well, like you were saying last week. And he tried to do it, but he just got ahead of
the
himself.
old backyard
Yeah.
cricket, 6 and out.
Well, do you think... I remember watching Mitch Johnson, and pretty much the whole of Mitch Johnson's career, it was, oh, wow, once his batting is so good and he's going to step into that genuine all-rounder position. And I mean, he did get a Test 100, I think, over in South Africa. But one of those things where I think too often he had a great attack and a great defence, not a lot between.
Yeah.
He could really hit boundaries.
Not awesome at picking the gaps, just going over the top. Or
Cummins looked really settled at the
I
crease
thought he did.
and able to not just hit boundaries, to rotate
Yeah.
the strike. And
Guess
I
you
was
might have that
impressed.
thing as well, seeing your captain out there doing what he's doing, just knocking around. You sort of think to yourself, I could, if you're coming in next, you could do that
And
quite easily.
I have heard Cummins mention that he takes pride in his batting and he would like to fill those shoes. And it was almost for me too, watching him, that he had a point to prove too, which was great.
It was.
Even though Smith was helping him out and it was a good partnership there, but they were almost playing an individual match, Smith and Cummins. Cummins had a point to prove, and so did Smith. Like you said, Smith was not letting them get him out, and Cummins wanted to be recognised as an all-rounder.
Well, apparently he bats at number 4 in his grade cricket side or something.
Right.
So I just think it adds so many options, I think, for Australia if you've got guys down the order. I mean, like I said, they added 30 for the last wicket with Lyon and Smith. They've added 20 with Hazelwood and 60 odd with Cummins. That's a lot of runs to get out of your lower order. And I mean, obviously Smith may have made, I don't know if he made the bulk of them or not.
I think he did. But I liked too how Smith didn't make the same mistake as Bairstow, who as soon as Bairstow felt like he was batting with the tail, he just tried to cut sick. And Smith was still running singles.
Yes.
And I always watch cricket like that and think, let them block, especially if they they block out a few overs, but then you see the more recognised batsman trying to do all the scoring, and I always get frustrated. Like, give the guy a go, let him block it out. Yeah. Runs are important now. You're with the tail, so runs are important. And he did that well, I thought.
Just to back up the point of Cummins, being legitimately able to handle the bat. So they put on 66 runs. He actually scored 42 of them. So, he scored 2/3 of that partnership. Smith was 23 off 74. Cummins, 42 off 120. Smith definitely got the lion's share of those last partnerships with Hazelwood and Lyon. But I like Cummins. I know I was down on him, and I'm still...
Which is fair enough since all the injuries and...
Yeah, that was your main question, though, wasn't it? Was his body...
Yeah, well, it wasn't a skill question. I guess, that's true. It was will he hold up? I still ask, if England had have hit Lyon out of the attack...
They needed to.
They really,
Oh, they did. And they,
like we said, they're 4 for 246 at one stage. All out for 302. That's a big collapse. And I mean, it's funny, we didn't really look at it as a collapse. No. I don't remember thinking, oh, geez, they've thrown this away. But when you look back and go, you've just lost your last 6 wickets for 56 runs, I
think it was because of how good we did, on the other hand. Looking at them on paper, you felt like they bat down to Anderson and Ball, and then you've got 2 in the tail, whereas you looked at Australia and you thought it's a bit shaky.
Yeah.
From really Payne, you start wondering... especially when Stark went out, I didn't expect Cummins to bat the way he did. It was a top score for himself.
I think it was when Payne went out, I was like, oh, geez, here we go. Here's the really bad collapse that's going to happen. And full credit to Cummins and Smith, they dug in and...
Now, obviously, I've got a horse in the race because I backed Tim Payne as the most crucial player for Australia across the series. I didn't think he looked uncomfortable at the crease. I thought he got an absolute ripper of a delivery from Anderson, wasn't it? I think with the new ball.
Yeah.
I didn't think he looked uncomfortable, but I want to get your thoughts on him across the whole Test match. Do you think if you could pick him or pick Wade?
Oh yeah.
Who would you back?
I'd probably back. It is hard to say in Australia, though. I still feel like it wasn't that hard to keep.
Oh, yeah.
But
he did get a stumping.
He got a very good stumping.
He did drop one online too early.
It's a tough one because he's only played one test and
didn't get...
The keeping, you could say, wouldn't be that difficult to do as keeping because there wasn't that many... great opportunities to get catches and stumpings and that. He only missed a one catch, which might have got him off a bit guard. And I reckon at this stage, probably stick with Payne. Let him play that next test. See if he can really prove himself with the bat and the gloves. And
I only hope he does because I am just so over the whole Wade Neville debate.
Yeah,
and
me
the fact
too.
that they never put runs on the board. They'll score, particularly Neville will score, a few hundreds in the Shield, and then they'll put him back in and he'll do nothing in the tests.
I reckon. Yeah. Give him Adelaide, because I reckon Adelaide will be a very good challenge with the pink ball day night, and with all this weather going on, who knows what the pitch is going to be like.
I'm backing him in. I'm backing my man in.
I'll back him in.
I'd still throw it to Bancroft.
But
I would pick Payne over Wade to answer your question.
Yeah.
I thought he did very well for what was
for not having to do much.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
And he looked pretty comfortable when he was batting. As you said, he got out with a ripper ball.
Absolute peach.
Same as Hanscom. I thought the commentators were a bit harsh on
Okay.
some of the dismissals. I thought Hanscom too. He got a perler of a ball as well. Like he bats deep in his crease. He's going to get dismissals like that.
Yeah.
But it was probably one of the most potent swinging balls from Anderson for the innings, I would have thought, and it really did go off its line where every ball had just been straight and he was just clipping them off his legs. But
and then got caught in the good trap that he was building, Anderson.
Yeah, that's right. And they kept saying it was a soft dismissal. I didn't think so. I thought Anderson and Broad with the new ball were quite good.
Yeah, they were working really well together, Anderson and
Yeah.
Broad and all that. But I felt Ball and Wokes, they weren't
a bit disappointing.
really disappointing. I reckon they weren't able to get that aggression factor in, and it was sort of that as soon as Anderson and Broad had done their spell, it was like, oh yeah, these guys will come in, and they just couldn't keep up that standard.
Did you hear Smith came out and said that he thought Wokes was the pick of the bowlers in the first innings, which a lot of the commentators were questioning, but then some of them were saying, well, Smith had the best seat in the
He
house.
was there the longest. Yeah. Well,
Which is interesting because I didn't, from what I saw, he wasn't.
No, I didn't think
seem
he
that
was
bowling that well.
No, me either.
do you... One of the things I just wanted to touch on, it's sort of to do with that bowling, will lead in. Khawaja, obviously, he was dismissed by Moeen Ali, was he?
Yes.
I think it was.
Yeah, the spinner.
I better check that. How professional
it was.
Was he bowled by?
Yeah,
Because it's been the talk of the spin
it was.
against Khawaja.
I did a little bit of statistical digging, as is my wont. So he's been dismissed, I think it's 39 times in tests, and it's 18 of those dismissals are to spin, which is a fairly high percentage. I heard.
Batting at number 3.
Yeah.
Too,
So
when you're
about
facing
half
the
of
quiz.
dismissals, by spin, and they're not all to necessarily great spinners. So obviously, he's been dismissed 5 times by Graham Swan, good. Pereira from Sri Lanka, obviously Moeen Ali, the other Ali from Pakistan, Imran Tahir, Shakib Al Hassan. There's a few others, but then you've also got Kane Williamson,
Yeah, right.
Joe Root.
I don't even think I've seen Williamson bowl.
And yeah, he and Joe Root have both dismissed him.
Yeah.
JP Duminy for South Africa. So is this an area that England can continue to exploit, given that Adelaide is meant to take spin pretty well? In some of my other research I did, Khawaja was a key player in some of these day-night tests that they've played. He did score, I think, 145. It might have been against South Africa last summer. If he does go cheaply, does his position come under threat? I mean, he got one bat.
I think it does because they... Let's
Given who he is.
assume... let's assume that he gets 2 shots with the bat.
Yeah.
Because he only got the one. But they brought Moeen Ali on straight away. So they'd done their research. He got him pretty quickly. I'd say if that happens twice in Adelaide, I would say, especially if there are players like Maxwell almost scoring triple hundreds in the Shield, surely a question mark comes over him.
It would have to, sure, yeah. Because they'll be, if he does there'll be 20 times going out to spin if he does go out twice to spin. And that's a big question on his ability to play spin. And it's like, you got to...
And if you can bring an off spinner on in Australia and just get him off early, then that's
at number
not good
3,
enough.
especially at number 3.
I think it raises that interesting question of, I mean, obviously all batsmen have weaknesses. All bowlers have weaknesses. But if you can identify really strongly that someone has an issue, I remember towards the end of his career, Graham Smith, left armers angling it in. Same with Adam Gilchrist. May even have been the same bowler. Zahir Khan, I know, cleaned Smith up multiple times. I think in one day and Test cricket, but it got to the point of sort of ridiculousness of out comes Smith to bat, in comes Zahir Khan. 6 balls later, Smith's gone. Yeah. Almost that sort of thing. It happened with Gilchrist and Flintoff in that 2005 Ashes series, where they just identified how to bowl to Gilchrist at an angle, and it was that targeting, that angle straight back into his pads sort of thing. If you can, I think as a batsman, as any sort of player, but particularly when you're batting, you've surely got to be able to cope to a degree. You've got to have a plan to deal with most kinds of bowling.
Well, I made a note that I thought could apply to most of the best batsmen in the world, and I'm putting Cook up there because if you don't get him out early, he usually hurts you. Not like a Warner, he doesn't make quick runs, but he'll ton up. And I found that everyone has to get their eye in. It doesn't matter who you are. You don't come out to the middle and you're seeing everything like a beach ball. So everyone has to get their eye in. I feel like the best batsmen, that's almost their only consistent weakness. That it's just, you got to get them early.
Yeah.
And that's where that full ball to nick off to slips is how Cook will go out early. You'll even see Root Smith has been edged to slips quite a few times. Coley, that's how you get Coley early. And I feel like
Warner as well, that's how you get.
But I feel like
90%,
then you go down to the next calibre and you look at a Khawaja and he's going to a particular bowler and it doesn't matter how far he is in his innings, and that's not good enough.
It's one of those points with Khawaja is I don't feel like his position in the team is solidified enough that they're going to have a lot of patience.
Unless, because there's been so much talk about his spot, whether now they're going to be a little bit precious and not want to drop him too soon to make it seem like they're not,
He'll need to... I would say if he needs to keep his spot, he would have to at least make... say a good
a score.
50 in the first innings or 100.
You probably don't want to go out to a spinner.
No, don't go out to a
That's all I'm
spinner.
saying is-
Don't go out to a spinner and make some good runs.
Especially one who's spinning with one finger.
Yeah.
Just on some live scores, the Intercontinental Cup's on at the moment, which is, I believe, some of the smaller nations. I've got PNG, Hong Kong, Netherlands, Namibia, Ireland, Scotland. But just following Afghanistan, they're currently 6 for 434, and they've got Isnala, Ramat Shah, and Stanikzai. Jeez, some of those names. 3 of their top 4 have all turned up.
They're actually handy.
Have they been accepted to Test cricket? Because I know Ireland has.
I think they want to be.
Yeah.
I think they're pushing pretty hard. They've
with
been
those
playing well.
those numbers, you can't see why they shouldn't be
Bring it on.
pretty seriously considered for a test.
I mean, they are not playing against, England,
Yeah,
or, Australia, or, but...
That's where you have, like, the
I'm all
teams
for the
like Ireland
expansion.
and those other teams that
I'm
aren't
for expansion too.
real up-class test teams to play. They play each other for a while.
Well, I like the
And then
idea
they-
of the 2 divisions.
Yeah.
Where you can get promoted, relegated, if you're topping the 2nd division of Test cricket, maybe it's 2 teams come out of the top division at the end of whatever. I think they were talking about having 2 years. So across 2 years, that's a full rotation of a season of Test cricket with a championship played at the end.
I love that.
That would be a good idea.
Yeah, which is, I think, touted to happen in 2019.
Yeah.
Like, that's the direction
Or
we're going.
should they do it like that and have it like the Premier League, and whoever's got the most points in the world, they just get the cup? Because then it would be interesting having a cup played in as a test match.
Would it probably be like a bunch of 3-match series, and then maybe the championship would be a 5-match series?
It's something like that. There's a minimum amount of tests that have to, like, everyone has to be allowed to get a certain amount of tests. And it has to be, I suppose, each series has to be weighted fairly. So if Sri Lanka's only playing 2 test series, they need to get points for winning the series, not for winning each individual test match. Otherwise, if you've got the Ashes, which is 5 games...
That's a lot of points.
Yeah. So I think that surely, to be fair, it would have to come down to how many series you're winning and points for series,
and
you
how
have
many,
to make sure that everyone gets a
and sort of do
similar
like
amount.
do the series, and then how many runs you want each test by, and then add
And sort of
them up.
that points difference, sort of.
Yeah, and it's also maybe even if you had like how many runs as a team you made, you could also add points towards that.
there will be a championship, like a decider between the first and second ranked nations at the end of the cycle, sort of thing, and then it starts again. But I really like the idea of 2 divisions, where the bottom 2 from Division 1 drop out,
Yep.
and the top 2 from the next division
Go
pop
up for the next season. I really like that.
It'd be interesting because it'll put a lot more pressure on the test teams to perform every single test.
Well, I think it adds a bit of context.
Yeah, it'll be really good because you do get a lot of those test series like Australia and Pakistan, and there's
particularly in Australia.
Yeah, in Australia, because you don't have the Ashes, big Ashes back in it, or Australia versus India. It's like those 2 big rivalries. And you don't really have it with Pakistan and that. So
if you add a whole
new dimension to it, that could give that extra flair to it.
Does it really matter to anyone? I mean, obviously it matters to someone, but that you get the scepter if you're ranked number 1 at the moment. I don't even know who is it. India is number 1 ranked side in the world.
Sure,
How many tests have they played in India? I wonder.
Yeah.
As many as they wanted to, I think. Isn't that how? Or as many as Coley wanted to.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I saw him double ton up the other night.
Speaking of Coley, the reason
move
why I left Facebook for a while was watching.
You're off the social media.
When Smith made his century, everyone was going, "Oh, it's fantastic," and all the Indian fanboys came on, were like, "Oh, it's nothing compared to Kohli," and all this, and just absolutely tearing into anyone who said anything good. It's like, who cares? The 2 different players are playing different tests.
This is great. We've got some animal sounds out the back there.
Yeah, it annoys me when...
That's the rabid dogs of social media, just after Johnny.
Yeah, it just annoys me that...
The wolves of social media are after you, John.
Yes, when people compare 2 teams that aren't playing, compare them when they're playing together, and you can compare them evenly, but when they're playing different tests, just leave them alone and let them do their own thing, and let the people who enjoy watching it comment how they enjoyed it, and don't just get on the hate bag.
Well, I think we should move on, is what I'm going to say. After all that, I think we need to move on from Virat Kohli, because it makes me angry very quickly. No, look, I think he's a brilliant player, to be completely honest. I think he's a magnificent batsman. One of those personalities, though, that is going to split people straight down the middle of you either really love him or you really hate him. I don't see that there's a lot of middle ground supporters. No. In a lot of ways, I feel like there are figures within the Australian cricket team that are a bit like that. You know, or even your Dave Warners sort of thing. A lot of people really don't like David Warner. A lot of people really love him. There's one more point I wanted to make, and it leads us into test number 2. That was obviously Alistair Cook with the bat, which we started to talk about. He went cheaply twice. And when I was preparing for this one.
Second time he went out, I was just like, in a really tough period in the test, and you play a shot like that so early on, and that just sets a whole precedent for the whole team. It's like you're not willing to stick around to block out the ball. You just want to get the runs as fast as you can, and he does.
I thought he was a little bit unlucky.
It was just
in
a
the second
terrible
innings.
shot.
I didn't find it. I thought, in comparison to some of the other hook shots played, I thought he hit it sweet. Yep. It was just...
It's just the one where he got caught
deep.
Right down deep.
Yeah, like in third man or something.
Yeah.
You don't go out like that all that often. Like, he hit it sweet, and it was almost like he would be thinking, I middle the ball and go out. Yeah. And some of these other guys are edging balls and going for 4. Like, it was just one of those. I personally didn't think it.
I was preparing to get my knife set out to carve him up. This podcast, I was fully ready to dig in. Day-night test cricket. He's gone. Until I started looking at the stats, England have played 1 day-night test. He scored 245 against the West Indies in his 1 day-night test. Against West Indies, but my reason for getting the knives out was going to be almost in a similar vein to Chris Rogers. Of Cook's one of these guys. He's an accumulator. He's a slower scoring batsman. The game is moving on. Not saying that I like this fact, that batsmen are being sort of left behind by the format. And then I looked at this. I thought, I was fully preparing to sort of write an obituary almost of like he's going to have a double fail in Adelaide with the moving pink ball. It's going to be all over Red Rover. Is his position under threat? But then I looked at this stat. They batted once. He made 245. I'm almost jumping on that bandwagon that maybe he'll get back into it this match. I think it could be a good opportunity for him to step up.
I reckon this test, the second test, is one of those ones where it's like, it feels like it's got that make or break feel for a lot of players.
Exactly the words I was going to use.
It's because it could make this whole series really interesting, be 1-1 if England do win. But if England lose and they're going to Perth 2-0 down, that's
Although
tough.
Stokes could be back for the third one, so he could just
Well, it's
lead him home.
Surely we've got to get some sort of decision on this. It's getting. He's flown. Have you seen? He's flown to New Zealand.
He's
now.
playing for Canterbury this Sunday.
Yeah.
And I just heard on the radio on the way out here, actually, that the police have handed their evidence to prosecutors.
Yeah.
And they're charging him full on. They're fully charging him with the assault. And
really?
How was he able to leave the country?
That's right. He's got full clearance.
Well, he left yesterday and they only handed in the evidence today. So there must be some...
him, or they're charging
charging
him
him
to the prosecution?
I think the police are charging him. That's all I heard on radio. They're charging him with everything. But there must be some...
Oh, 1 minute.
stat or some
yeah.
loophole that saying that he can fly over to New Zealand. Maybe he had some contract.
Family there. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe he's a dual citizen. Who knows?
He was born in New Zealand. But
so maybe there's some loophole they can go to New Zealand.
But I heard talk about him possibly playing.
Yeah, there's been lots of talk.
Well, that's what was the talk this morning. But there is an article only 44 minutes ago saying Stokes Ashes series all but over. All but certain to be charged by looking. They've passed the file of the Crown prosecution and now seeking charging advice.
All right, charging advice. So
there's no declaration that charges are imminent, but it's not immediately good either.
So
I'm guessing
sitting on the fence.
It's
So
so
we're no
frustrating
further
because
along.
you sort of go, surely. I mean, from my perspective with this game, I think barring weather, we're going to get a result.
Yeah.
We talked earlier in the last podcast about, what will the series score be? I think there was a 3-1, a 3-2 and a 3-2. We're feeling like we're going to get a lot of results. Like I say, for me, barring weather, there's going to be a winner and a loser at Adelaide. And I feel like, for me, it has to be England.
It has to be England.
You've got to draw a line in the sand and go... I feel like if you go 2-0 down to Perth...
It's hard.
It's a tough climb
and
back.
If Stokes can't come to Perth, that's just going to make it even harder.
Well, I think they
England.
need to show that they can win without Stokes.
Yeah.
And this is their best opportunity as far as conditions. It's going to be most like English conditions. The ball's going to be swinging, theoretically. It's going to be swinging all over the place.
It's going to be spinning.
Anderson and Broad should be able to get it going. And,
it's that make or break scenario.
And it's an interest... I mean, I like the day-night test format. I wouldn't like to see day-night test cricket replace day cricket, but I like having one.
I reckon one's good.
Series.
I reckon one's good, especially at Adelaide.
I personally am a hard ass, and I'd like to just see them play more overs a day, start the same time and finish later. I'd like to see
150 over.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
I really... It's something that...
It's one of those things that why not?
Yeah, exactly.
They're professional athletes.
Yes, thank you.
The players' union are going to be up in arms.
They're professional players, and if your team's on a roll, as Australia was when the first day was called off, you could see Smith was really frustrated that he had to go off. Yeah. They had to go off because they...
Here's the point for me. Offering the batsman the light is now becoming a ridiculously outdated rule, given that we can now play day-night test cricket. Surely we're going to get to a point where, unless there's no lights at the stadium, you play on and you use a pink ball. I don't know. It just
Well,
seems
it's
silly
like,
to
what
me.
if, what if they swap the ball? They bring out the box
Yeah.
with theoretically as close to the amount of wear and
Yeah.
tear. Why don't they have a box of pink balls to bring out? Even if it's just, all right, well, we're 15 overs behind, so we're just going to bowl 15 overs with the pink ball.
I think it's particularly, it's really frustrating to me. You're meant to bowl 90 overs in a day. For me, you should be out there bowling your 90 overs.
Yeah.
It frustrates me. It's particularly, they're bowling more than that a day in Shield cricket, unless I'm wrong.
Yeah, they
100
do.
overs, 110 overs
Yeah.
a day in Shield cricket. It just frustrates me. Take your time and set your fields and do all those things. Allow all that gamesmanship. But you're going to have to finish your 90 overs at the end of your day. And with, like I said, with all this offering the light and all that sort of stuff, it's ridiculous. We're going to go to Adelaide and play a day-night test cricket match.
And it starts
on.
off in the day. What time does it start?
And then we change over.
Yeah.
You know, oh my goodness. What you can go it's frustrates the hell out
And
of
wouldn't
me.
it bring a bit of excitement too if they did that and they played with the red ball and then they came out and they're 15 overs to go, they bring out the pink ball and it starts hooping around.
I
Wouldn't that be
guarantee you
exciting?
the batsmen want to get through those overs, those 90 overs as quickly as
How
possible.
much would they
What
be
is-
training their night watchmen too?
What you were saying as well was, maybe if they do start off in the morning and go all the way through night, how they have that, like, the tea break where the batsman can go off and someone throws down the pink ball during that break, and then they can get an eye in a bit better and get suited to the pink ball for the night period.
Well,
It'd
I
be
just
good.
I
It'd
just
be
think
interesting.
they need to have that enforced, that if you don't finish your overs, I don't know, maybe
on the pink
I've
ball.
missed something.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
It frustrates
because
me.
I didn't see any reason why they had to call off early on that first day.
It's
Still,
because they give the batsman the option. I think
And the
that is
batsmen
the...
go, thank you very much.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
done.
and it was no different than before the review happened. It was like,
Yeah.
why can't you just ball those last
Yeah.
3 balls?
Yeah.
What's the big deal? It's gonna.
I'm super excited. I'm super excited for this match. I mean, obviously, I'm
Yeah, yes.
super excited for any test cricket, but I really feel like this is a moment upon which England need guys to step up, because if it goes 2-0,
They're in strife.
Australia can bat out a draw on the whacker.
Yeah.
Put it that way. And
If England don't win at Adelaide and they go 2-0 down, I can't see them getting back into it.
I think it's difficult, because I think it's not just, obviously there's going to be games, there's going to be 3 games left if you're 2-0 down. Obviously, you win the last 3 on the trot, you can still win all that. It comes down, though,
To Stokes.
to Stokes. Can you win without Stokes? And also, can these guys step up? Can Vince turn that into 100? Can Stoneman turn it into
Can
bigger scores?
Cook
Can Milan?
get going?
All these guys, I think there's
It's-
a lot of questions. The bowlers, the bowling unit. There's probably six guys in the squad who probably wouldn't have got a pass mark, but there's question marks still. We've still
Yes.
got question marks of, okay, so you almost did it. I felt like they were
They had good spells. Ball
60
and...
to 70% there, I felt like. You know, and they talked about this, I can't remember where they talked about it, but someone was talking about sport and saying you might get 2, 3, maybe 4 moments in a game of sport. Those are the moments that decide it.
Yep.
If you're not winning those moments, then you lose.
And
And that's exactly what, like I said, I've marked down 2 to 3 moments from that game. You know, being 4 for 246 in their first innings, then all out for 302, having Australia 4 for 76. You know, there's 2
4 for
key
76. That's
and Australia end up with a lead.
I still stand by one of the first moments too was not going after line. I thought that was their
Yes.
that was their chance to change gears and say, right, we're batting time, we're wearing you out, but hey, you bring on line and we're going to smash him around the park.
Well, they say that Root's a good player at spin.
yeah.
So I would surely you give him that license, or as captain, he gives himself that license of. Like, I almost would say Lyon is the biggest weapon Australia have in their bowling attack because of what he enables the other bowlers to do.
And now that
Because he can take wickets and bowl extended spells,
and field
you know.
in very well,
And
and that's going to play on.
the economy
and-
is great.
the fielding is going to play into England's minds now because that was incredible run out, and now every time, especially Vince, if he hits it to line, he's going to see line, and he's like, no.
Yeah.
You hit it to Bavuma and you just do not run.
Yes, and it plays on
Even
that mind.
if
It's like,
Yeah, that's right.
and then you could, in your own mind, you play say like, right, that part of the field's out while he's there. Don't hit in that part of the ground because you won't get any run, and then you're trying to play on the opposite side. And
but do you think there'll be any changes for England apart from possibly bringing in a leg spinner?
Who was the guy they set? Crane, Mason
Yeah.
Crane, who Peterson has called to
Yeah, well, there was talk that they may have regretted not bringing him in instead of Ball for the last one, but no one thought it was going to spin like it did.
Yeah.
But do you think there'll be a change, or do you give them one more go? Especially Wokes, I feel, who swings the ball a lot in England. This is going to be his best chance to...
I reckon keep Wokes in because I reckon he was well under what he normally does.
Yeah.
I reckon it's a lot better than what he showed at Brisbane.
Does it give you more options if you say take Ball out, put a leg spinner in, that you've then got 3 seamers, you've got Mo and Ali, and you've got, the spinners, presumably, unless they get hit out of the attack, are going to be able to bowl a lot of overs.
And Root can bowl, and he was handy.
Yeah.
A few too many full tosses, but he
And
was handy.
Steve Smith bowled himself.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right. Yeah, finally.
That was nice,
Finally,
actually.
it was good to see.
And I was just going to make the point of Anderson. Anderson was off the field,
Yeah.
for some overs. Is that where having another bowler, say like a spinner, who's going to be able to bowl more overs and
that was
back 'em up?
another moment of when commentators brought up as well was Anderson was off when the new ball came in.
I think it was injury.
Yeah, there was talks about injury, and then Root came out and said no, he wasn't injured, he was just off having a rest.
Well, then that's just...
And they're like, why was he not bowling with the new ball at this critical moment? It was just when Cummins was coming in. And
How do you feel about being a bit more flexible on the move? I felt like Cummins was the pick of the quicks in the first innings. Lyon was the pick of the bowlers for the match.
Yeah.
I really would have loved to have seen Smith throw Cummins the new ball in the second innings, or even when they took the second new ball. But they still went for Hazelwood Stark, whereas, especially in the first innings, Hazelwood was very ordinary.
he was very...
And why can't we be a little bit more flexible on the go?
There's no reason why he can't.
I don't understand why they wouldn't. I mean, unless it's a pecking order thing. Stark and Hazelwood are the senior bowlers.
Bit high school, isn't it?
Yeah. And how
Definitely.
terrifying would that be, knowing you're coming out to face Stark, who gets up to 140s, and then the other end, Cummins, who gets up to high 140s. I mean,
Well, I think, one thing I don't think it'll change for this test match, based on, again, crunching numbers. We've played 3 day-night tests in Australia. Stark has taken 16 wickets in 3, and Hazelwood's taken 18 wickets in 3. So there's a lot of a lot of wickets on the board there for those 2 particular bowlers. I feel like the whole attack for Australia is pretty functional at the moment, given that you've got Lyon, who can, again, we're sort of hammering home the point, but I really do believe he's the key cog. Because if you hit Lyon out of the attack, and you can up the overs that those other guys have to bowl.
That was,
But he just kept bowling. It seemed like every second over, there's Nathan Lyon bowling another brilliant over. And it's not just containment. He's taking wickets as well and creating uncertainty.
he was very unlucky he didn't get more wickets than what he ended up with.
Cheers, Payne.
Yeah.
An early drop catch in the series. I was a little bit disappointed there and feeling a bit sorry for you, Jake. I spent it was quite interesting. I don't know about you guys, but I found I was like almost going to cook so many humble pies while watching. I just thought I was so critical of my own analogy early on, paying attention to everything that was happening. Oh, I said he was going to do bad. He's kicking ass. Oh no.
The one person I said who was going to do good failed. It was brilliant.
Who was that?
Khawaja. I said was going to be
Well, I picked
And Root.
Payne to say was going to be brilliant.
I picked Root for England was going to be the main man.
I think, and I mean, in fairness, we've named these players across the whole series.
Yes.
I think the cream will rise. It's a shame I didn't go for the cream of the crop in Tim Payne. But I also think that Cook, I'm still relatively comfortable with my selection of, is Cook not a liability, but
The
can
weakness.
he continue to perform at the level he has? Will he be a bit exposed?
I
I hope he doesn't. I hope he goes out and scores runs. But
like to see that he was the only one out there in 40 degrees getting the ball piffed at him in the nets for a long time when everyone else had their feet up. I liked that.
Yeah.
That the senior players doing that.
It sets a good standard.
I'm just listening to the wolves outside. I don't know if anyone else can.
Your tiny little...
It's the rabid
Wolf.
media pack. Just after
Just-
people's careers. And did you actually see Nathan Lyons say, "Bring it on,
Yeah.
come at me, bro"? Pretty much. It's funny to me to see Nathan Lyon like this because for so long he hasn't seen like he is.
He's
like,
up and about.
riding
He's
high.
all of a sudden he's a lad.
Yeah.
And
And
he's
it was also good for him to back up what he put on social media.
This is true. I
It's
think
like-
he did bowl very. I think he did back up what he said.
He backed it up nicely, and which he needed to do. Otherwise, it would have been that I
because he
said all
would have
these
looked like an
big
absolute flog.
words, and he didn't do anything. He's a massive flog, he said,
Yeah,
Jake,
yeah.
and so he really had to do well, and he did incredibly
I
well.
like watching him bowl.
Mm.
I like watching spinners bowl.
yeah,
well.
me too. I love it.
Yeah.
As soon as the spinner gets on, I get a little bit excited.
And that was a disappointing thing. Ali was just
Just
he
off,
wasn't
yeah.
he wasn't
Hopefully
himself.
he's, able to come back, and he's probably the player that I think I named him as the most important
Yeah.
player for England. Shit. No, but I still think he has that X factor ability, particularly if Stokes. I would almost consider putting him up the order.
Well,
me.
how much difference do you think it would have made if that stumping decision went the other way?
Yeah.
Huge.
Because that was a solid partnership. You could sense that it was building. I could see Ali and Bairstow turning up there.
Yep.
And as soon as, which happened in the first innings for Bairstow, as soon as Ali was gone, Bairstow went quick because
Yep.
he thought,
There's my
head
part.
putts. He doesn't have that
Yeah.
subtle understanding.
It wasn't that,
to bat with the tail.
He didn't have that, the understanding back with the tail or the confidence that they could bat with him, maybe.
Yeah, well, I think that's what you see about Smith, which is nice. Where he doesn't feel like he's got to shield the tail too much.
which
You know.
this was the first time I thought that really stood out though,
Yeah, right.
for me
Yeah.
with Smith. But I really that was probably my favourite thing about Smith's innings was the way he still ran singles. Because all my life watching cricket, I've thought, don't go out trying to hit a big stroke just because there's a bowler up the other end.
Yeah.
Like,
Do you remember
let him
that
roll.
game? I think it may have been 2006. Mike Hussey scoring a ton on Boxing Day against South Africa, and he made most of it with Glenn McGrath at the other end. It was one of those ridiculous Mike Hussey managing, the last wicket partnership.
yeah.
I would love to find the stats on it, but he was not much when McGrath came to the crease.
Yeah.
Probably one of my earlier cricket matches that I watched actually.
And
12 years ago, holy moly. There you go.
all the bowlers have to do is not just play the line of the ball and not follow the ball, so you're not getting edges. If it makes you look like a fool because the ball's swinging or spinning around you, who cares?
You're not hitting it. You're not snicking it.
Smith was pretty dirty at Hazelwood when Hazelwood got out. From memory, he got caught behind, I think. So I'm going in with no statistics in front of me here, but
You've got the
this is
computer
where
in
we
front
need
of
a
you.
stats
but
man. God damn it!
Maybe I'll have to bring all the stats next time.
Yeah, that's right. I've got the internet in front of me, but
You slacker.
how this day-night test is interesting too because the format is so new. There's that party that goes, it's going to hoop all over the place. If you look back, the first ever day-night test played in Australia, Australia won by 3 wickets. The highest score in that match was 224 by Australia in the second innings. This is against New Zealand. Second game of the second day-night test, South Africa. Australia won by 7 wickets. Australia put runs on the board that time, though. They got 383 as the high score. Kawaja made 145. He actually opened the batting, and Warner batted at 3 in that test match.
I
Which is
remember that,
interesting.
actually, yeah.
Pakistan come to Australia. I think that one was at the Gabba. Day-night test. Australia win by 39 runs. They put on 429 and 202. And this is that game where Pakistan, after being out for 142 in the first innings, put on 450 and only lost by 39 runs. I remember following that game.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
So it's changed. It's a fun format, I think. Obviously, teams are slowly working out how to score bigger. England made 500 and whatever it was declared when Cook made that 245 over in England. What do you see it being like? Do you see a big score, or do you think this is going to be a bowler's paradise?
The way Brisbane turned out, can't see it meaning massive scores. But I reckon it'll be 300s.
Yeah.
I reckon it'll be a good score.
You don't see him like, I'll
it'll be
tend
tough.
to probably be in agreement.
Yeah, if Australia bowlers get really spot on, it'll be 300, I reckon. It'll be a really good score.
Mm-hmm.
And same with England. The way they're saying it's going to be really good for the bowlers. So anything over 300 would be a really good score at this point in time.
But I think it's interesting in the fact that, everyone sort of looked at the Gabba going, good wicket here, It was a strange test in that it looked, you kept looking and go, particularly first day, good wicket to bat on. And then as it sort of wore on, it was like, there's danger here. If you're not concentrating, there were no one really came in and had that quick fire 30 or 15 balls down the order, which often, will happen. There'll be a Cummins or a
Did
Stark
anyone
or someone.
Get to 10 within 20 balls? I don't think.
It was pretty slow going.
I don't think any player was able to get over 10 runs within 20 balls. I was always...
Are you prepared to put money on it?
No.
Okay.
I have a feeling someone might have done it,
Stark.
but...
6 or 5, there you go. Oh, but he didn't get 10.
No,
there
he
you go.
didn't.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Right, I'm not going to take you on this. I'm going to be the bigger man. No.
I'll look it up, see what...
So I think it's going to be an interesting test. Like we've said, I think it's a line in the sand moment. I think England really need to win this. There's obviously some pressure on a few guys across both sides. I think there's pressure on Kawaja to perform.
Even Payne, really, I think he's still got a bit of pressure.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, I mean, the night cricket should suit him because he's mainly been playing T20s. But I agree, particularly if Australia lose this test...
So, yes, Jake Ball got 14 off 11 balls.
There you go.
So,
there you go.
Yeah. I knew I didn't put
I'll
money on
take
it for a
my $10.
reason. Putting money on it.
I think...
You still owe us the slab from last week.
Yeah, true.
That's for the Christmas party.
Yeah.
The sad 3-man Christmas party that we're having in this hot room.
Just a lot of plutonic masculinity. Do you think... I think there's probably 2 guys who come under scrutiny. It is probably Payne. It is probably Kawaja.
Marsh?
Marsh.
Yes.
I think he's still under pressure. He's a bit like your Kawaja. He fails too many times.
He dropped a major catch.
He almost assassinated Stark in a fielding collision at once.
Yeah.
He went in studs up.
Yeah.
Slashed Stark's trousers.
He wasn't doing
like,
himself any
No,
favours.
and even Stark
just smashes
said...
Stark's shins.
Even-
Stark's out for the series.
Even Stark said he was yelling at him, no, stop, I've got this. He's still just...
No,
Cleaned
personal
him up.
glory, mate.
Yeah.
Do you...
And yeah, I still...
A lot of love
that-
for the Marsh brothers.
I still remember that dropped catch that he dropped. I sent you a message. Can't really repeat it, but it was just... It was one of those ones, as a professional fielder, playing for Australia, you cannot drop those balls. If you're one of us playing in the field, sure. We might drop it.
that. I don't drop that catch. Sorry, mate. But
Like,
I'm
there wouldn't be
taking that
much-
every day of the week.
Like, most people go, I had a good chance. Like,
Yeah.
But if you're playing professionally for your country and you drop one of those, it's not good enough.
So, obviously, those 3, I think, have asterisks next to their name. I think everyone else did more than enough to secure at least for the next couple of tests. England's side of the coin, I think you've got a few more question marks, maybe. Possibly.
Yeah,
in my opinion, like Ball has a question mark.
Wokes.
Yeah.
Even Ali was being criticised quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, I suppose actually once you get into it, there's not. I suppose the thing for England is what depth do they have to fall back on? Whereas Australia, you've got guys knocking on the door in Shield cricket.
You've got the whole country.
Jackson Bird and
prepared to come in.
Glenn Maxwell.
And
Marsh, apparently.
and England, you've only got how many players did they actually bring over?
Well, that's the thing, and even calling them up from domestic level, their domestic competition's not running at the moment. There's no one who's going to be walking in form like, oh yeah, I've been, tunning up all summer, because they're not playing at the moment. So the resources are a little thinner on the ground. There's no one really beating the door down. Who do you go to if you've got weaknesses?
Stokes.
Bring home Stokes.
Right.
You're going to start GoFundMe page.
And
we'll start a GoFundMe page for all Ben Stokes charges to go on Jack.
That's right.
How about that?
Will you take the rap, Jack?
I'll take the rap. I'll take it.
This is not a legally binding statement. So I think that maybe even if there is question marks in England's lineup, there's not many direct answers of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't want to take out and put in another unknown sort of thing. In some ways,
I'd say Crane's the only thing that I think is likely.
There's only
likely change.
People have been talking about. There's not been many other players that have come up in the talk of England's players.
Well, I think for me, they talk about, if in this test, I would want to leave no stone unturned. If you're at all doubtful about Ball, then put Crane in.
Yeah.
Also, that means if Mo and Ali's still struggling with his finger injury, you've got another frontline spinner to focus on. I would seriously consider batting Ali further up the order, even if it's just one or two positions. I would say to Stoneman, play your natural game, because everyone who's seen him play from England said he's a stroke maker.
Yeah.
He plays big shots. He goes out and dominates innings. That's not what we saw in that first test match. Play your natural game.
Yeah.
Go out and score some runs. Try and put the Aussies on the back foot. I think the conditions will be good for Anderson. I mean, what conditions aren't when you've taken over 500 test wickets? But I think he can be really dangerous. But they need that, like the same for the Australians, they need Lyon up and about to take the pressure off those strike bowlers. It's the same for England.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if Ball's a liability and you don't want to throw him the ball because he can't even, contain at the other end, get a new bowler in. It's much more dire, I think, for England to lose this test
than for Australia.
If you lose this and go 2-0 down, it becomes incredibly difficult. There may be no cavalry riding over the hill in the form of Ben Stokes. You need to show that you can win with the guys you currently have selected, in my opinion.
Yeah, you've got to back your team, and the way they're talking, sounds like Ball won't be in the team.
So you're backing Crane.
Yeah, I would say bring Crane, especially if Ali has still got finger issues, because you don't want to rely on him to bowl heaps of overs, because he's not going to be able to, because you don't want his fingers to get worse and worse over the series.
And you want the opportunity for him to improve too, because there are other decks in the series that are gonna be handy to have, one spinner, if not tandem spinners. I'm thinking about Sydney, and those sorts of pitches. But I think, that's how I feel. If I was in the England camp, it's like we need to blitz. We need to go out and really take our opportunities. If we get them 4 for 76 again, we need to knock Smith over one way or another, or we need to knock the other guys over really quick.
Get Bairstow to throw some headbutts.
Yeah, get in there. Use that head. Well, I think
there's something going on with the Rangers over there.
A little bit of aggression. Good pick. So what? Yeah, do you sort of agree with all that? Was that the direction you'd be going if you're in England's camp?
I'd be taking out Ball, who I thought had some good spells.
He had some good spells, but just
but he wasn't good enough. But I'd
wasn't
be
able to
taking
pounce
him out for Crane. Probably that would be the only change. And then, but then it gets interesting too. If Australia win in Adelaide, and then they lose the Wacker next, is that right? The third test.
Yeah.
If they lose there, and let's assume that gives Cook 4 failures, then you see an absolute clean out
For the last 2 tests.
for the last 2 tests, and almost a rebuild of, all right, unless you're batting well, Cook's gone. Possibly Ali if he doesn't do well. Anderson if he doesn't really dominate. Being the fact that they've got injuries, saying, well, we're going to rest you and we're going to blood some kids.
Well, I think it becomes a dangerous tour if you go 3-0 down. You're starting to look at a third,
whitewash.
Another third, whitewash in the last 10 years.
And that won't go look kindly on young Root back at home in England.
Well,
I'd
want...
say he'll go to New Zealand with Stokes if that's the case.
Because he'll be. It's not wouldn't be an ideal situation for him to go back to England, coming home 5-0 whitewash and lost to Ashes. That might be a bit lenient on him since he's a new captain, but still.
I just look at. If it is another whitewash, then the pre-series talk of career-ending stuff will be true for a few players in that lineup. I don't think it will. I have faith that. Well, I have hope. I thought there were signs there that there were some good players. I really like the look of Milan with the bat. I thought Vince did a good job.
Yep.
I thought Stoneman has proven all to us so far. I mean, he got a decent score. I mean, he didn't do so well in the next innings, but he's got the tour form to suggest. I mean, he scored, I think, 50 or 100 in every tour match warm-up game. I liked, obviously, Anderson and Broad. I think they need some support. If Ali can step up, you have a good core there of players. Just looking at Crane, he's taken 75 wickets in 29 first-class games. Slightly expensive, almost 4 runs and over, 3.86. But obviously he's taking wickets too.
Yeah, they're leg spin numbers, aren't they?
Yeah, that's true. They are generally more expensive. Hasn't played yet for England in terms of a test match. He took 7 wickets so far in the tour games. So he's looked alright, made a 25 not out with the bat in the last game he played up in Townsville. You would hope. I mean, he's young. He's the future. He's 20 years old.
And the young guys were the ones that stood up for England.
Throw him in.
Yeah.
What
Give
have
him
you
a
got
go.
to lose?
You got the series to lose.
Bang.
But if you go with Ball again,
No, you can't go with Ball. You got to go with Crane.
So
although he's a relative of mine, so
yeah,
I am related to the Balls. So
right.
I am.
You are. Yeah, I didn't know if there was a.
No, I'm being serious. So
Yeah, right. So do you have faith in your distant relative?
No, I hope he gets dropped.
How distant?
I hope that was the last we've
How
seen
distant?
of Jack Ball.
How far distance are you related to him?
Yeah, he's a little late.
If we
Oh yeah, it's quite a way back.
got it right back.
Yeah, but
It's there.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's there.
There's balls in your family.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, cool.
And they're all big. Have you noticed? Like, because Jason Ball, who played for Sydney, he was a big boy,
Yeah.
and Jakey Ball was big too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ball needs to. I don't say
Big
he needs to be
balls.
dropped.
Big balls in your family lineage.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, I hope that Crane gets in.
Yep.
I really hope that they chuck Crane in. I hope that Cook comes to form. I hope I hope for a great test match, but I really hope it evens up at 1-1, because then I think if you have a few failures on the Australian side, if they manage to hit Lyon out of the attack, if Khawaja has a failure, if Marsh doesn't produce,
Yeah. What happens then?
There's question
Payne
Yeah.
drops
If
some
Payne,
catches,
yeah, I was trying to leave him out.
can't pick up the swing of
Yeah.
If Payne drops a couple of crucial catches,
I've gone out on a limb, boys. I'm glad to see I've got some support here in the room, you know. like-
Lyon, none for 120. Payne has dropped 7 catches on
Yeah.
Lyon's bowling.
Mo and Ali's just hitting him out of the park, you know. I can be
jeez, I
happy
think
when that's-
are we in fantasy land right now,
Yeah.
are we?
Well,
Jeez.
I just hope it's close. I mean, the last test was close up until sort of the last quarter of it.
Yeah.
When Australia just romped
It was-
home in that
I would say it
chase,
was
but-
close until Smith got his century.
I thought they just needed to take even one, or let's
Open
just
the
say
door.
two wickets in that second innings, and I think I'd probably be betting, and I am a betting man. I would probably be
Gamble
betting
responsibly.
betting on England in Adelaide, but I think that psychological edge of 10-wicket victory just
Especially when they were so close
Yeah.
a few times to going, we're almost stepping on the throat here and
There was
getting in prime position.
so many points. It was like, oh, England's right on top now. They're going to bust open the damn door.
Do you
And
think-
then Australia brought it back, and then Australia got on top, and then England brought it back, and then it's just those shifts. And then I reckon as soon as Smith got that century, it was just that was it.
that it's an ominous sign the way he batted, because there didn't seem to be an obvious way to get him out.
No,
That
and
is
Root
dangerous.
tried
Many different.
basically
to his
everything.
credit.
Yeah. I mean,
Root
but
tried basically everything he could. That he
So
knew.
what do you do
Yeah.
if you've got this guy in the team who, and there's guys around him who can bat? Like the series is almost hinging on, can you find a way to nullify what Smith can do? Can you find a way to nullify what Lyon can do? If they can if they can do one of those things in Adelaide, then it starts to ask questions.
Yeah.
For my money.
And for me, that could just be going after Lyon for one, which
Yeah.
even if you go out, if you go after him, it's going to raise some eyebrows in the Australian camp. And you just need a Cook or a Root to turn up
Yeah.
to match Smith, which they are capable of doing.
More than capable.
And
Root
there
nearly
you've
did it.
nullified it, in my opinion. You know, you've matched Smith with the bat, someone, and
Yeah.
you've just, even if you go out, even if Lyon gets fifer, if he's expensive, then you've
They've got to, they've got to go after Lyon and just try and knock him out of the attack. He cannot have him doing what he did in Brisbane again.
I suppose the thing for me looking at Joe Root was, you need to do what Smith did. I think that the next opportunity he gets to bat, he's either got to bat them to a position where it doesn't matter if he gets out, or he's got to carry his bat and go, you are not going to have my wicket.
And wasn't that a perfect example of the losing a wicket with the lack of concentration? As soon as he got 50,
Yes.
his concentration dropped 10%.
And it was just that.
Bang, wicket, and you could see he knew
Yep.
straight away. Like, he just got a bit carried away, and that can be the difference.
Yeah.
One ball, one mistake.
And he,
What?
it was crazy. It's hit that great shot for 4 to get his 50. Next ball, steps out and just gets struck right in front. And it's, as a captain, and when you're in that position, it's not something you'd look too kindly on yourself or on anyone else, or the whole England team would be like, why weren't you getting the bat in front?
Well, I think they're looking for that example. Like in the way, like I say, this is why I think he's got to match what Smith did. It's almost like Smith put the marker down of, you're not going to get me out, and I'm going to be here, and we're going to get in the lead. That's what really, I think, irked Smith when Hazelwood went out. He threw his head back. They weren't in the lead yet. And Smith was desperate to just put some daylight between Australia and what England... It's just like topping their effort.
You could even see
well...
him when just after Smith got his century, he played a shot and nearly nicked it, and you could see him just smashing his head with his glove, just going, "You idiot!
Yeah.
What were you doing that for?" Let's concentrate. And then after that, it was just back to normal.
So obviously, different deck. We're in Adelaide. It's almost a bit of a different ball game. England need to get back into it. This is the bottom line. England need to get back in the series. We want to see Crane play. We want to see Cook hit some form. I don't. Want to see
No Australian does.
Pouch 6 catches and make 50.
We want to see Root step up with the bat in both innings and make a century in one. Make a really good century if he has to. Or have him come in and just bat through and get a good amount of runs if the top three can push through and get a good score.
I think closing it out, because I think we've pretty got deep into the meat of it. Do you have a prediction on the score? Which way you think it'll go?
I reckon Australia will win it, followed by either 3 or 4 wickets or maybe 50 runs.
Yeah.
That's what my heart says.
Yeah.
I want England to really... They really need to win it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to see England win it just to give the series a lot more heat and fun and aggression and all that from both camps. But England has to win it. But my heart says Australia will win it pretty comfortably.
I'm just going to go out on a limb and say England win in Adelaide. Cook tons up. Root scores 50.
Mm-hmm.
Ali takes 4 wickets in the first innings. And England win by a comfortable 120 runs.
Yeah. All right. Well,
That's really taken on the limb.
yeah.
I've got no limbs left now.
No, they really don't.
It's all right, I've spent a few as well. I reckon, I think England will go, they'll get this. They'll do it by 3 wickets. I think Joe Root get them over the line in the last innings. I hope that they take it to Lion. I hope that we see some, a bit of aggression. I hope that they take those moments.
They seek the blood.
Yeah, I hope they really go for the jugular. So that's how I'm feeling. Do you think Ben Stokes will play in the Ashes series?
The way things are going, no.
Jack?
Not now.
Yes.
I don't. I don't think we're going to see him. I want to see him, but I don't.
I want to
reckon
see
we
him,
will.
but it's not looking good for him. Really not looking good for him.
You're secretly happy. Not even
As a
secretly.
supporter,
Not even secretly.
As a supporter of Australia, yes, I'm happy. As a supporter of cricket, no, I'm not happy because you want to see the best players playing in big games.
I'm worried that we won't. I would really like. I think it would add a bit of fire to the series, particularly the sledging that would come his way. The sledging
Which
that
he would
probably
love.
give back. I think he would respond with form, with the bat and the ball. I hope he gets back. I'm doubtful. Any last thoughts, boys? No.
Payne got picked to keep when he was not keeping because he was playing behind Wade. Is that correct?
Yes.
In Shield. Well, we've got Duran, who also is a keeper. If you look at his profile, he's also a keeper. He's only 20. He turned up. And if you look at his profile, his position is keeper, but he's not keeping because of Wade.
Oh.
So it's also the Bancroft situation,
How dirty
opening
would it be as
batsman.
Matthew Wade?
Well, why are they letting Wade keep when there's a 20-year-old keeper?
It's beyond me.
So
I don't.
It's Tasmania.
I don't understand the keeping situation, to be honest.
No.
In Australia,
It's kind of
yeah.
that's getting ridiculous.
But my final thought is Jackson Bird, Glenn Maxwell.
We did. You want them in?
Yeah.
Would you take Marsh out and?
I'd take Marsh out and I'd even take Hazelwood out.
That's a big one.
Yeah. I thought that
I reckon
I would have rather, especially in the first innings, I would rather Bird bowling than Hazelwood.
it's a big call. Well, I'll definitely say bring Maxwell in for Marsh. Definitely bring Maxwell because he's a better fielder.
Do you think? Sorry, we need to wrap up. But just on Maxwell, I mean, he scored massive 275 or whatever it was. There were shots there, though, that he played that I don't know that you would get away with against Jimmy Anderson.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is my question about Maxwell. It's all very well to go back and ton up state cricket, and I know the level is high, but there were shots he played. There were some uppish cover drives that sliced away through third man. I don't...
You need to
he can score runs. We get that.
Yeah.
We get that he can go and do these amazing things. Has he worked on his technique enough to translate his talent to a higher level, though? That's my big question. I want to see him in because I want to see him improve to the point where he can come and do that on the test stage. I'm not convinced yet that he can. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve the opportunity.
I like the fact that his name was thrown into the ring.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't get over the line. He goes out and dominates.
Definitely.
And then you get the likes, which he's young. I think he's still going to be a great cricketer. Renshaw, who has lost his position in the team and is not doing anything in Shield cricket.
Yeah,
he really isn't.
No, he's going out for single figures or 14 runs, and that's where I like the performance of Maxwell. I know what you're saying, and he is sometimes if you watch a Warner innings, he can be a little bit like that. And you almost see if he streaks a few to the boundary, you think, all right, he's going to go on here because the luck's going his way. He either edges early or even his edges are going for 4. And I feel like Maxwell's the same a little bit too. But I like that mental edge that he had this last match that he played.
Bring him in at
Perth.
Perth.
I want to bring him in Perth, not now. I feel like the chaos of a day-night test is where you could really utilise him.
I can't see him
pushing his way in
because Marsh made that 60, the 50.
Boring 50.
He made his
the only 50
he made
I've
his
been bored
50
watching.
So everyone was like, I don't need to drop him, but he dropped a catch that he shouldn't drop.
Yeah.
No one else in the team would have dropped that.
Well, I think I think it might be a while. I mean, God, you're always going out on assumptions. I was just going to say I think Bancroft will settle in nicely.
Yep.
Personally,
I've really liked seeing him.
He looked good.
I think he's got a good head on his shoulders, as we've said. Obviously,
He's got a really long neck. Did you know?
very elegant, sort of. Yeah.
Like a swan.
Like a
I was going to say it was more like a turkey or something. But
yeah, fair enough.
Watch out for Thanksgiving then. when the Yanks come around.
I think Bancroft will make the position his own, and I think he complements Warner nicely.
Yeah.
I think Renshaw again maybe has a limited availability of shots in his arsenal, limited selectional. I'm making up words here.
Nice work.
Yeah, no worries.
Selectional.
That
can be our official 3J's Ashes podcast word of the day.
Yeah, thanks. Selectional.
What does it mean?
I don't know. Really. My point being, I don't think he's got as many options. I don't think his game maybe is as versatile yet as Bancroft. Bancroft has done well for a few seasons now. Renshaw was a bit of a bolter onto the scene.
Yeah, he was.
He needs to.
I don't know. I'd really like to see Maxwell get in. I think he's more likely to push back in than Renshaw.
Yeah, definitely.
I think Maxwell's probably the most likely to push in, even over, say, like Jackson Bird.
I did get Pfeiffer. Just saying.
I don't think it's necessarily warranted. I think though that fast bowlers club's pretty tight.
Yeah,
and that's the problem. But would you even consider? Let's just assume Maxwell is out of the question, but there's one change. Would you even consider going the tactic that England did and doing a Marsh for Bird swap?
Putting an extra bowler in the lineup.
Yeah. Considering Cummins made good runs.
Could you not bat Cummins above Payne?
Well, I think you could.
You could, yeah.
I don't think they will, but
No.
I personally would be saying especially because Payne didn't bat very well.
I feel like this is a sticking point. I know.
It's a witch's hunt.
That's right, yeah. A witch's hunt. The witches are after me.
Yeah.
As opposed to a witch hunt.
A witch hunt.
We're after the witch. Interesting. The tables have turned. The shoe is on the other foot. It's been fun as always. I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah.
And we're going to be back to do another episode, obviously after the day-night test. Yeah, really looking forward to it. Started to cast my eye towards the football season going. I definitely want to try and do a footy podcast.
Yeah,
I
for
think.
sure. And I'm footy, just as footy mad as I am cricket mad. So
Yeah,
bring it on.
I reckon too.
And as
You'd
long
be in
as
hostile territory though.
as long as there's arrogance running through the Australian camp, and as long as Nathan Buckley is coaching Collingwood, then I'm a pretty good. I'm a good.
We might have to
You-
bring you over to the Geelong.
No, that's not going to
Outside.
happen. I'm not going to be persuaded, but I'm.
you have to follow the sport.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
a follower of AFL and of cricket.
Yeah.
When that's the case, which Buckley's not going anywhere, and I don't think the arrogance is going anywhere either. So
Well, looking forward to this second test. Hope that it's a cracker of a game.
Again.
Look forward to talking about it with you all when
Next
it
time.
finishes up. Thanks, boys.
Thank you.
cheers.
Thanks for listening, guys. Go Sport.